So this is awesome, guys. Andrew Callahan of Channel 5, he had over a 3-hour interview with Hunter Biden. And this is the first time I've seen Hunter Biden speak at length in any context anywhere. And it was a good interview. It was a fascinating interview. So, by the way, all the talk about like finding the Rogan of the left, we may have found him. I think Andrew Callahan, the way he conducted this interview, it was very like Rogan-esque. It was very like, getting the best out of the person sitting across from you without interjecting yourself too much, effectively. So go watch the whole thing. I'll say that up front because certainly, so like the beginning part, I feel like they start talking about addiction. Hunter starts talking about his problems with addiction and alcohol and crack cocaine and regular cocaine, powder cocaine. And it's low-key, it's sort of a masterclass. Like when he starts talking about the difference between crack and cocaine and what addiction is like and how it ruins his family and how he hit rock bottom. And it's all very emotional. It's very personal. It's very open. And I got to be honest, it made me look at this guy in a different way. Whereas, when I thought of Hunter Biden in the past, I would think like sort of classic fail son in a sense, like, coasted off his dad's name and just like very hollow and vapid. But it turns out the hollow and vapid thing is not true at all. He's actually low key, like really fucking smart and willing to be sort of brutally honest. So I love the first part of the interview where they talk about addiction. There's a part which I'm about to show you here where they talk about immigration and Trump, and homie goes off, which I love. And then later on, it's interesting because the further you go in the podcast, I feel like I start getting a little more like, I don't know about that, Hunter. He's still, but Joe Biden is his dad, right? And he's riding hard for his dad. Like in the same way that Joe Biden rode hard for him, where he would defend him no matter what, he would support him no matter what. You see that Hunter does that too with Joe. Like he sees no fault in his father in any way, shape, or form, waiting as long as he did to step down. In fact, Hunter probably thinks he just shouldn't have stepped down at all. He's still sort of coping around that. He's got, an enemies list. It's funny because he seems to think that like the old guard of like the Democratic establishment old guard conspired against his dad, when it's like, your dad wouldn't have been president without the Democratic old guard conspiring for him in 2020. So I don't know. He's got a skewed perception of his dad. And I understand it. Like I said, he's his son. So he's going to ride for his dad hard. But the more time goes, like the later in the interview you get, the more it becomes like, okay, now I'm starting to disagree with them and it's starting to get a little iffy. But having said that, it's still fascinating. So go watch the whole thing. But let me show you. Here's the part where he pops off on Trump and immigration. And this is the sort of shit, a lot of people have made this point. I'm not the first one to make this point. But this is the sort of shit that we want to see from Democratic politicians, how he talks about this issue of immigration. Watch this.
They're spreading disease and distrust, and they're criminals, and they can be violent. They're eating your dogs and cats.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
And what we're going to do is we're going to send mass men to this marginalized group, and we are going to take them, put them on planes, put them on buses, put them on trains, and send them to a prison camp in a foreign country. What am I describing right then? Am I describing Germany? Or am I describing the United States right now? Because I will tell you what, if you think that the prison in El Salvador is not a fucking concentration camp, you're out of your fucking mind.
How many Democratic politicians have referred to CCOT as a concentration camp? How many of them have referred to Guantanamo as a concentration camp? How many of them have referred to Alligator Alcatraz as a concentration camp? You have some who do it, but they literally all should be doing it. Literally every single one. But they're not. Because they're afraid, because immigration for a long time was Trump's number one issue in the polling, and so they're afraid to go hard on that. And here's Hunter coming in here and telling the truth.
What am I describing right then? Am I describing Germany? Or am I describing the United States right now? Because I will tell you what, if you think that the prison in El Salvador is not a fucking concentration camp, you're out of your fucking mind. Tell me anybody that's returning from there. You saw those pictures. You think anybody's getting out of there? Or, is it a rehabilitation center? You think, I've been to those places in South Sudan and around in those areas. You think anybody's getting out of those South Sudan prisons? Ever? Ever? Out of your fucking mind. That's a death camp. They're done. They're over. And if you're not dead, you would want to be dead if you were in that prison. And we just sent a bunch of people without due process, some of them most likely legally in the United States. Like, I think of that poor guy that they said was a gang member because he had a tattoo on his arm that was a makeup artist. And they say he was MS-13. He literally a makeup artist that fled, I think, I'm making it up, Venezuela, because of a dictator, and came to the United States and sought asylum, received asylum, and they literally take this poor guy and they pick him up, and he has a family and he has friends and he has an entire community, and they give him no due process, and they put him on a plane with maybe a bunch of other criminals and send him to that fucking hellscape. He's dead and nobody gives a shit. And I mean it. Like, we sit here and we talk about the one guy because there's a clear legal path to being able to get him back. What about all those other people? Am I not supposed to feel for someone? Am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration? Fuck you. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your fucking table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your fucking garden? Who do you think is here by the fucking sheer fucking just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are the fucking criminals? White men in America are 45 more times likely to commit a fucking violent crime than an immigrant. And the media says, well, you got David Axelrod and, Rahm fucking Emanuel. So fucking smart, Rahm Emanuel. They said, we got to understand that these people are really mad. And we got to appeal to these white voters. Rahm, the only people that fucking appealed to those fucking white voters was Joe Biden at 81 years old. And he got 81 million votes. And he did not because he appeased their fucking Trumpian sense, but because he challenged it. And he said, you can be an 81-year-old Catholic from fucking Scranton that doesn't understand it, but still has empathy for transgender people and immigrants. And then nobody said, oh, Joe Biden's going to turn us into a socialist state, no matter how much they said it. But these guys think that we need to run away from all values in order for us to lead. I say, fuck you. How are we getting those people back from fucking El Salvador? Because I'll tell you what, if I became president in 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now, I would pick up the phone and call the fucking president of El Salvador and say, you either fucking send them back or I'm going to fucking invade. It's a fucking crime what they're doing.
Bro, hold up. Homie gets a standing ovation on this. This is what we want to hear from Democratic politicians. Like, he actually gives a shit about these innocent people who were sent to a concentration camp. He actually cares. And I made the same point when everybody was talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and God bless Kilmar Abrego Garcia. We talked about him all the time too. But I remember thinking, like, what about Andres, the gay Venezuelan makeup artist who was 19 years old, who was shipped there? What about I think he had a mom and dad tattoo, and they said it was a gang tattoo, and they used that as evidence to ship him there. What about the person that had the autism awareness tattoo for his younger brother who had autism, who he helped with, and they said that was a gang tattoo and sent him there? Like, what about that? That's the crazy thing to me is 288 people were sent there. 90% are totally innocent, and we were only talking about one. When the real rallying cry needs to be release all of them. Literally everyone. Now, by the way, since then, they actually have released them to Venezuela. And some of them are not even Venezuelan, which is kind of crazy. But they sent them to Venezuela. So, thank God, at least they're out of the concentration camp in that instance. But there's already reports. They were experiencing regular beatings, torture, sleep deprivation. All sorts of crimes were committed against them. So this story is not over. They need to sue the fuck out of the Trump regime, and they need millions of dollars apiece, each of them, because this was unacceptable. But I love this rant from Hunter. Basically, like, have a fucking soul, bro. Have a soul. But what I also will say is this. I got to be the buzzkill a little bit and interject a fact into the conversation here, but he's right that, yeah, Joe Biden definitely more understanding when it comes to immigrants, when it comes to trans people, etc. But Joe also did deport 4 million people. So, like, you can't do the whole, like, it's a very passionate pro-immigration rant, but it's like, you also should have maybe said this to your father, because your dad was also cracking down hard on immigrants, and that, that was one of the criticisms of him from his left, as people were like, you're too hard on I'll tell you what, I've definitely shifted to the left on immigration for sure, right? I always consider myself like a moderate on the issue of immigration, but now, looking at what it's like when you do right-wing bullshit, it's like, well, hold on. Because Hunter's right. These are some of the hardest working people, most family-oriented people, some of the best people in the country. And let's, like, not fucking kid ourselves. We're better off as a result of immigrants being here. We just are. And so any sort of othering them feels gross to me now. But let me hear more of this. I'm enjoying this way too much. I'm enjoying the Hunter Biden rant way too much.
A fucking dictator thug.
Bukele or Trump?
Both.
Yeah. The craziest thing to me is especially interviewing migrants and like hearing about the journey they went through to get here. You got some people who walked for 30 days to the deserts of Mexico into the Arizona desert in 110-degree hot summer. Their feet are bleeding. They have a gallon of water. There's people dropping dead while they're walking who they physically cannot stop to help because they are so determined, and because the coyotes trafficking them will kill them if they stop too. And they finally get to the U.S. just to do menial labor. And you have people saying, like, do it the right way. It's like, trust me, if there was an easier way, they would have done anything but that. And secondly, I feel like anybody who goes to that length to get here deserves to fucking be here. I mean, deserves to be an American. Like, we didn't do shit to get here. I mean, I'm sure at some point, like, our great-grandparents did get on the boat from Ireland and were like, fuck, I don't know what's going to be over there. But it wasn't like the grueling conditions that people experience on the way here. And it's just the lack of humanity. And also, the lack of understanding as to how American corporations economically dominate those countries and how U.S. intervention has created unlivable conditions there too.
And are the incredible beneficiaries of that new blood that enters our bloodstream year after year after year. The only thing that makes us different from fucking China or Russia or anywhere else or Europe or anywhere, and the only reason that I believe that we as America are different beyond the fact of the idea of the Constitution, the idea that we represent is immigration. And I can't even believe sometimes I'm having this discussion with anybody. How do you think that we are reborn every generation? How do you think that we attract the smartest people in the world to the United States of America? Through immigration. I mean, you sit here and, I mean, like, just think about it. You got some motherfucker who's made over, what, $251 billion being a United States citizen that got here and stayed here illegally before he got his citizenship, sitting here lecturing us on who we should allow into the United States of America and giving us a fucking Heil Hitler along the way. Are you fucking kidding me?
And talking about how...
Oh, man, this is great. By the way, we're having Andrew Callahan on Crystal Kyle and Friends this week to talk about the Hunter interview, so definitely subscribe on Substack below. You're not going to want to miss that conversation, but damn. Hunter, man, he's, you know, I also made this point the other day. Everybody's giving him a lot of shit for his corruption, for the whole Burisma deal, for all that stuff, and I think that's fair, right? But at the same time, and Hunter makes this point phenomenally well in this interview, he's like, bro, look at what Trump and Kushner are doing. And you got to call a spade a spade. The fact of the matter is, Hunter's corruption compared to any of the Trumps and Kushner is fucking non-existent. It is peanuts, dog. Hunter's like, so I make these paintings and I do an art gallery show where I'm not even selling them shits, right? And he says there's a fucking multi-day meltdown about how it's influence peddling and people are trying to get to Joe Biden at the White House, et cetera, et cetera. And in fact, I had the same reaction to it when I saw it. I thought, like, yeah, that's what this is, this influence peddling. But then, like, at the same fucking time, Jared Kushner's taking $2 billion from Saudi Arabia and doing their bidding, right? They're selling fucking watches, and they have a crypto exchange. They're selling crypto shit coins and scamming people as a result of it. They're building fucking hotels and casinos in all these countries that they're making deals with. Like, are you kidding me? There is no comparison, dog. It's like monetarily, like quantitatively, the corruption of the Trump family compared to the Trump family is like, shit, a fucking million times more? 2 million times more than that of Hunter Biden and the Bidens. And you could tell this really pissed off Biden. He's like, they painted me as like the biggest demon in the world, the biggest devil in the world, the most corrupt asshole in the world. And then I'm looking at these fucking stories of Jared Kushner taking $2 billion and nobody's talking about it. And nobody's calling him a corrupt asshole. And I think it stems from because Hunter had all the problems with drugs and stuff that made people like lower their estimation of him. So they watch him like a hawk now, right? Whereas with Kushner, he wears the suit and ties from fucking upper class society, etc. And he just kind of got away with it. People, oh yeah, it's just a business deal. No, it's not. It's fucking bribing. It's bribing. That's what it is. Fucking $2 billion from Saudi Arabia, from the mass murdering prince. Get the fuck out of here. So anyway, go watch the whole thing and sign up on Substack so you can see the Andrew Callahan interview when it drops this week. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.